Hello, everyone. I don't know why I'm doing this. And then I don't know why I take on so many things all the time. And then I see your beautiful faces and then I remember, oh, that's why I do all of this because of these beautiful people that are in my container, in my sphere, in my vicinity, in my auric field. And you're all so beautiful, and I'm just so excited to be able to share with you the the little bit of information that I receive on a day-to-day basis from the beautiful masters that I work with. And today's kind of interesting because my son Corey was helping me with some of the facts around the eclipse because when I do classes and when I jump in to give you information, I intentionally don't go out into the media and I intentionally don't go out in the internet and I intentionally don't look for information because I want to give you the stuff that's coming into my field, that's coming into my awareness from the beings of light that I work with. So I don't go out in the internet and I don't look for stuff, but it's interesting that a solar eclipse is there's a lot of facts around solar eclipses. I mean, after all, it is an astronomical event. But we're going to kind of take a little bit of a different view to it. But we are going to state some facts. And my son Corey was helping with this. Corey is, he has always had a little bit of interest in astronomy. And as a matter of fact, when he was 15 years old, he named the first company that I started, which was called is called, it's still in business. Here we are, 22 years later, is called Aldebaran Associates, and we're a recruiting company. And Aldebaran is the brightest star, the alpha star of the Taurus constellation. And Corey named the company. He was 15. And I thought, well, Aldebaran, and that's actually a song, and Corey's a musician, and he was studying some music from Enya. Some of you might remember Enya. I used to really be into Enya, and Corey was into Enya at that time. He did a lot of her music on his piano. And she has a song called Aldebaran, and he was kind of enamored with it. And he said, why don't we call the company Aldebaran? It's like a star. You're working with stars. You're placing people that are stars in companies and all. It was a recruiting company. It is a recruiting company. So I thought, oh wow, that's really cool. And I researched this name of this star, and I heard, and I what I saw was that this alpha star of the Taurus constellation is, and the word Aldebaran is an Arabic word that means the follower. And it's called the follower because it appears to follow the Pleiades. And the Pleiades is a group of stars, and many of us fantasize about that we came from the Pleiadian stars. We all think we're star seeds, and we are star seeds. Some of us come from the Sirius constellations and star groups, and some of us come from the Palladians, and we have a lot of galaxies of origin. But anyway, so I was delighted that Corey gave me some facts about the solar eclipse, which we'll talk about. But we are going to focus on the spiritual aspects of this beautiful, beautiful event. And because it is a phenomenon that goes way beyond the astronomical aspects of it and way beyond even the astrological aspects of it. And those of you that are taking classes with me, you know that my interest in astrology has really soared in the last few months because I have run across an astrologer who is an amazing astrologer. He's from Colombia, which is where I'm from. I was born there. And he is very metaphysical, and he studies the Kabbalah and integrates a lot of angelic and astrological phenomena from a metaphysical standpoint into his charts and the readings that he does. And so I had a reading with him and I started to become very interested in astrology. And then then things started coming to me, certain books and certain other material that I have been surrounding myself with. And so there's a renewed sense that I have about the support that we are receiving cosmically. And one of the things that really came to me recently was the absolute importance of understanding that and I talked about this in a class recently, and I actually did talk about it. We did a program recently on the Pluto transition into Aquarius. And if you haven't seen or heard that program, or if you weren't part of it, let me know. I'm actually going to probably put it into I just started a YouTube channel and I'm going to put it in there because there's a lot of really, really cool information about the Pluto into the transition into Aquarius. And so I talked about how when we are born, we make a choice and we make a decision about the astrological moment in which we are born. And why is that? Because our soul knows that we're going to carry out certain purposes. We have a mission to accomplish in an incarnation, and we know that we need support. We know that we can't do it alone. We know that we're coming into a world that's in a three-dimensional place that has a lot of limitations and belief systems and a lot of programs that we not necessarily want to be a part of. But we make the decision to come into this world because, number one, we want to evolve our spiritual progress. We want to heal karma. We want to fulfill agreements. We want to carry out our mission. And this is really, really important, you guys. We come to this incarnation because we want to make a difference for humanity. We want to make a difference for humanity. We want to be a part of the transformation of humanity. And so we choose the moment of birth and the location of birth based on the knowing of how the stars and the planets and the constellations are going to be aligned in that particular moment for our fullest benefit. That's how natal charts work. So it's not that we're born into a natal chart and then our life is given to us in some ways, impacted and influenced by our natal chart. No, 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 it's the other way around. We create our natal chart. We choose the moment of birth, just like we choose our parents, just like we choose the country that we're born in, the city that we're born in, just like we choose everything in our life. We choose all of that because we are looking for the best possible way to support our mission and our purposes on this planet. So it's really interesting to know that all of us have chosen this moment of the solar eclipse. Some people are going to be right in the direct line of this eclipse. I know several people. I've had one student of ours who she has been reporting to me the places that she's going with a friend, looking for the perfect spot to experience it. And she's been considering Texas and then decided to go to Vermont and then decided to go to Massachusetts. And she's been driving around looking for the perfect spot where she and her friend are going to be in the line of the direct solar eclipse. And what that says to me is that everybody, those people that are going to be in the line of it, which is mostly going to be like in like Texas and the Southwest, all the way, it's a diagonal cross through Texas and the Midwest and all the way up to the Northeast of the United States. So those of us in Florida, some of you are scattered all over, but I'm seeing a lot of people right here in Florida. We're not going to experience it in the same way. However, wherever you are in the world, we are going to experience the benefit of this beautiful astrological and astronomical event and opportunity. So before I say any more, that was kind of like a little introduction, but before I say any more, I would like let's have a little grounding like I like to do in the beginning of all the events that I do. Let's all take a deep breath into our heart. And if you want to close your eyes, that would be lovely too, and you don't have to. But close your eyes and put your attention in the center of your heart chakra, right there where all the love and the light from the universe and the cosmos is concentrated and moving in for us right now. And let's all together as a beautiful tribe welcome our healing teams, our spiritual guides, source creator, the council of beings of light that are always supporting us and helping us to understand and comprehend the agreements that we've come here with and some of the chaos and the karma that we have to deal with from moment to moment at any given moment. We're welcoming these beautiful beings of light. And most of all, our I am presence, our soul, our higher self, who is partnered with Source Creator to carry out our mission. And we ask with all of our heart to receive the key codes and the light codes that will help us to understand the information that is coming through here for us today, not only as an individual, but as a collective. And to understand it from the aspect of being able to receive benefit personally, as well as how can we use this information as it comes through to benefit humanity and to make a difference for humanity. So take another deep breath into your heart and bring into your heart whatever that higher power that you relate to, whatever that higher power is, bring that higher power into your heart and let it shine. Let that light be bright and let it expand out from your heart all the way to every corner on this planet, reaching every man, woman, and child. And imagine that every man, woman, and child on this planet can actually receive the love that is in your heart. And take another final deep breath into your heart and then open your eyes and come back. Okay, so I'm again very excited to be here. I want to have this event be, I'm going to talk about a few things that I believe are important that I've been guided to share with you. And then I kind of want to open things up so that you can ask questions and that you can even bring in some information that you would like to contribute. And so I want you to think about that. And as we're going through the presentation or the information that I'm giving to you, I'd like for you to jot down your questions so we can save them to the end. And then we'll answer those questions. And I know that the masters are here to be able to help us understand the information. And for those of you that I want to explain who the masters are for those of you that this is the first time you're listening to me speak. The masters are a group of beautiful ascended beings of light that I work with and have been working with them pretty much all my life, but started working with them even more a few years ago, actually in 2017, when I started walking sunrises and receiving their beautiful messages, which are being documented into a book called Walking with the Masters. And you all are going to get a really good taste of who some of these beings are, because they are incredible beings that have helped us through ages and who they themselves have gone through what we have gone through here on earth. And an example of that would be Jesus, who I call Yeshua, and Mary and Mary Magdalene, and Lady Nada and Saint Germain. There's several of them. And we're studying them in one of the classes that I'm teaching, but there's over 30 ascended masters that are here to give us information and to help us. So they are here with us and they will give us information to help answer your questions. All righty, so let's get started. So solar eclipses are kind of common. They happen all the time. There's partial eclipses. We are right now in the middle of tomorrow, which is going to happen an actually total solar eclipse, and it is in Aries. And so there is a shaking up happening because eclipses are significant to us because they are a symbol or a cosmic representation of how light and shadow play together. And shadow is an aspect of our life that is a dark aspect of our life. It's the aspects of who we are that we don't like too much and that we actually like to deny or not look at or not face, and that we don't really like those aspects about ourselves. But our shadow is a very important part of who we are because it's part of who we are. And so in conquering the shadow aspects of who we are, we rise into the light of who we are. We live in a world of polarity. We live in a world of duality. And one of the things that I have been learning through my meditations, especially in the last 6 months, is that the state of spiritual evolution of humanity is that we are moving through an ascension process in which we will eventually, very soon, in the very near future, we will come out of a state of duality, and we will move into a state of neutrality, which is a state in which there is no polarity. And that's what our immediate future as a humanity really promises for us. But in the moment, we are drenched in polarity and duality. So in order to be light, there has to be dark. So the solar eclipse is a reminder of how we can play with our shadow, because in reality, our shadow is just a small part of who we are. Our shadow is the part of that we need to work on and that we need to integrate into the light. Once we integrate our shadow into the light, we're able to step more and more into who we are as a pure essence, because in reality, we are a spark of the divine. I love to use the example of an ocean. If you can imagine right now a picture of the ocean, and Dan and I walk on the beach almost every day, and we see this ocean, and sometimes the waves are really crazy, and when sometimes, especially when the moon is full, the waves are really wild, and then sometimes it's really calm. But if you can imagine the ocean for a moment and imagine the vastness of it, imagine what it's made up of, the molecular structure of the ocean, and now imagine a little drop of that ocean falling off the waves and landing on a rock nearby or on a shell nearby. That little drop of that ocean contains the exact same molecular structure as the large ocean. And that's how we are in relationship to Source Creator. We are like that little drop from the ocean that contains all the power, all the light, all the love, all the serenity, all the essence. We are that. We are that little drop. So a solar eclipse reminds us that not to get boggled down into the minutia of who we are as human beings, but to focus on the light. Because once the moon moves out of the trajectory, the sun will be shining brand new again. In fact, this eclipse is going to last 4 minutes. That's the duration of this eclipse. It'll be 4 minutes, which is a really long time when you think about it. When you think about the moon covering the sun, that's a long time, 4 minutes. But in that 4 minutes, we have a phenomenon that's happening that is giving us an acceleration in our ability to do two things. Now, I want to pause for a moment here, because there's another phenomenon at play here, and that is the Pluto transition into Aquarius. Pluto is significant because Pluto represents, in many ways, shadow, and it also represents past pain, past karma, past memories. Pluto represents the karmic and past life debts and burdens that we have recorded in our Akashic records. And when Pluto goes into Aquarius, it is an opportunity to put the past behind and to clear all of that. So while we are in this Pluto in Aquarius, we are being supported in putting the past behind us. And this eclipse is yet another opportunity, but it is an accelerated opportunity. So we have to take advantage of it. And so I'm going to give you some tips as to what you can do between today and tomorrow to take full opportunity, not just of the moments of the eclipse, but for the next few days and even starting today. Now, I want to talk for a moment about the physical aspects of the eclipse, because if you are anything like me, and all of you are, you probably are experiencing some kind of physical anomaly, let's say, in your body. And maybe you're feeling a little off balance. My mom was telling me over the last few days that she felt her head wasn't right, like a little bit of vertigo, but it wasn't exactly vertigo. She felt a little nauseous, but it wasn't exactly that. She couldn't put her hands on it. And then as we were talking, I said to her, Mom, I think you're having a reaction to the solar eclipse that's right coming up. And she listened to that and she said, you're right, because I've been getting impacted by the full moon. Well, there is a phenomenon happening astrologically right now, and and spiritually is that we are in an accelerated kind of, I don't know what to call it. I want to say phenomena, but I feel like I've said phenomena like 5 times already in the last 3 sentences. So I don't want to say phenomenon again, but that's what it is. So just very briefly, think about, haven't you experienced time moving really fast in the last couple of years? If you have been feeling that time is moving faster than normal, you are right. It's not an impression. Time really is moving faster. It's something that we can't explain, but there is actually, I heard in some event, I'm not sure what it was, that they're actually measuring the time, and our time, like our year, is becoming shorter. And so the time and how we experience time is speeding up. So there's an acceleration in time and space. It's not always explainable, but it's definitely being felt by many people. And in the last year or two, I have been very impacted by full moons and new moons. Usually I would only get impacted by new moons, and now I'm being impacted by full moons and new moons. The moon is symbolic of emotions. And so when the moon is full and when the moon is new, we experience emotional ups and downs and roller coasters in our emotions. And that translates because emotions have a molecular structure. And because emotions have a molecular structure, they impact our physical well-being. So I also have been feeling a little out of sorts in the last few days. And I am attributing it 100% to the solar eclipse, because there's no other reason for me to feel a little out of sorts, but I've even had some physical symptoms that are unusual for me. And so if any of you have had that, I would love for you to share about it in the chat, just to confirm that there's a possibility that we are experiencing physical symptoms, let's say, of this solar eclipse. Okay, so part of what we want to talk about today is how to help you be prepared to take the most advantage of this phenomenon, say it again, of this phenomenon, so that you can really benefit from it because you chose to be here in this moment. And the next solar eclipse, from what I understand, a total solar eclipse in one particular area of the world only happens like every 100 years or so. Now, we experienced a total eclipse in 2017. That eclipse, according to the information that Corey gave me, was visible to about 30 million people, whereas in 2017, that eclipse was only visible to 12 million people. So this one is really huge. It's a huge one, and it has a path that is influencing a lot more people. Part of that is because of the path. It's going through a lot of major cities, a lot of major cities. So an interesting fact too is that solar eclipses take place during a new moon. We're in a new moon right now. And whereas lunar eclipses take place in full moons. So that was something I didn't know. That was something that Corey brought to my attention. And solar eclipses occur approximately every 18 months. But we don't experience them like that because it depends on where in the world you are. So it usually happens over the ocean and we don't experience them. That's what happens with solar eclipses. That's why this one is so unusual, because it's happening over the massive land in the United States and in other parts of the world. So this is an opportunity for us. So there's a few things that I want to bring to mind as to what makes this solar eclipse so special. The path of totality of this eclipse, because it's passing through Mexico, the United States, and Canada, is very rare. So it's usually the given locations, because of the path of totality is typically narrow. So not every place on Earth gets to witness an event like that. So that's really special for us that we're going to have this crossing a path through Mexico, the United States, and Canada. Also, the duration of this particular eclipse is really long. Like I said, 4 minutes. It usually doesn't last that long. So in 4 minutes, you have a lot of time to be a witness in your inner space of the transformation that you can experience for yourself. This is the main thing. This is an event that is happening out there in the cosmic realm, out there in our space, in our atmosphere, outside of our atmosphere. but how you want to view it is from internally. You want to view it from inside your heart, from inside your auric field, from inside your chakra system. You want to feel the effects of it in every organ in your body. You want to feel it in your DNA. All the work that we've been doing with the DNA, those of you that have been following the breath work and the DNA work, this is an opportunity for us to alter our DNA with a transformation, because we are integrating shadow and light. And what that means, and we do that in breath all the time, and that's what we've been doing in our DNA series. That means we lift the low frequencies of the shadow aspect of who we are, and we integrate it into the higher frequency of love and light. And when we do that, we heal. And when we heal those aspects of ourselves, we heal for all of humanity. And that's what's so powerful. The other part of this is that this particular eclipse is going to have a very dense populated regions are going to be exposed. Cities like, and this is what I was saying before, cities like Dallas, Indianapolis, Cleveland, Buffalo. I have several friends in Dallas and who are in the Austin area that are so excited about this. And some of them are, a lot of people are traveling to these areas to be able to see it. And then there's an interesting thing here about the crossings, which I don't really understand too much about the crossings, and I'm actually going to read this to you. This eclipse is part of a series known as the Saros series. Each Saros series typically lasts for over a millennium and includes several hundred eclipses. The 2024 eclipse is particularly notable because it is part of Saros series 139, which began in the year 1639. Wow. However, what makes it rarer is that it is crossing the path of totality of the solar eclipse of August 21, 2017 that we've been talking about. Such intersecting paths are relatively uncommon and can be separated by many decades. So this is a really huge opportunity for us because it's not normal. And when something abnormal happens, we got to pay attention. We got to pay attention to this. When there is a phenomenon that is happening in nature, that is happening in the atmosphere, that is happening in space, that is happening in our home, when something is out of the norm, we have to pay attention because it is telling us, it's giving us a message. It's setting up an alarm for us. So it's important to pay attention. Okay, so let's talk about, oh, there's another thing too that I want to mention, is that eclipses are typically, because of the timing of them and because they happen so far in between, they allow for technological advances in astronomy. And it's just really beautiful because our astronomy and our ability to document astronomical events has progressed so much. I remember, I mean, I'm a 60s child, and I remember, you know, when we walked on the moon and how far we've advanced from that. We have satellites now going through to so many of the planets in our solar system. We're making discoveries far, far away. So it's really, really cool that eclipses give us the opportunity to study something, gives our science an opportunity to study something that is unusual and that gives us information about the universe and about the space that we're a part of. And also, on that note, I want to mention that one of the things that I'm really getting a lot of exposure to is that we are not alone in this world. I mean, we are not alone in this universe. We are not alone in this cosmos. There are many galaxies in the universes, and I've called it the multiverse because it's definitely not one universe. There's hundreds of universes and hundreds of cosmoses. And we're not the only living species in these universes, in these galaxies, and in these cosmos. We have a lot of galactic brothers and sisters, and they are helping us. They are helping us from afar to understand these kinds of events and to understand how they are helping us, and to understand how we can advance in our spiritual evolution so that we can take place in the Cosmic Federation and the Galactic Federation with our brothers and sisters in love and light. All right, everybody take a deep breath. I'm throwing out a lot of information to you. I'm only going to talk for about another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to open, maybe even just another 5 minutes, and I'm going to open it so that you guys can have a participation in this conversation. So there are several aspects of why this is really important and why we want to take advantage of this. So from a spiritual standpoint, eclipses are a symbol of transformation, and this is the main thing. Full moons are a symbol of transformation. New moons are a symbol of transformation. So solar eclipses symbolize transformation and renewal. As the sun is temporarily, as it disappears temporarily behind the moon, it's believed that individuals can undergo personal transformations and emerge with a renewed sense. That's what transformation is. Transformation is to leave behind what was and become something new. So as you listen to the rest of this conversation and as you participate, be thinking in your mind, what is it that you want to leave behind? What aspect of yourself are you willing to leave behind and get on the magic carpet ride of this eclipse and allow this eclipse to help you dissolve it, leave it behind? And what do you want to create that's new? This is really important because if you don't set the intention, then something is going to happen by default. But why let something happen by default? You're going to have a transformation no matter what. Wouldn't you like to be aware of it? Wouldn't you like to take a role in the absolute intention of it? I certainly would. So I'm definitely thinking about what I want to leave behind and what I'm ready to recreate for myself. The other thing that is important metaphysically and spiritually about eclipses is that there's an alignment happening here. The moon is aligning with the sun, even though it's an illusory kind of alignment, it is still a symbolism of the powerful way in which we can align with celestial powers and with celestial frequencies, where we can align with our higher self, align with abundance, align with prosperity, align with perfect health. Whatever we want to manifest and create, we can reach into the celestial heavens and ask source creator, ask our higher self to help us align with that. So there's a balancing of the energies that happens, because when you're out of balance, that's when you experience depression, that's when you experience anxiety, that's when you experience lack, et cetera, et cetera. So it's an opportunity for you to come together with the frequencies that you were born to bring into this incarnation. Some of us have forgotten those frequencies or have forgotten how to align with them. So this is an opportunity for you to be reminded that you are a powerful being and that you can align with these high frequencies. The third thing that I want to bring up is that there is an esoteric, let's say, viewpoint that eclipses are a portal for spiritual growth and evolution. It is like a portal. So what is a portal? A portal is an opening. It's an opening. It's a cosmic opening. It's a spatial opening that allows for us to bring in heightened intuition. It allows for us to connect with higher dimensions. It connects us with other realms of consciousness. And that's what I do. That's what I do for a living. I use portals to access other dimensions, to access beings of light from the Akashic realm, from other realms. I access higher dimensions and frequencies and interpret this information. That's what I do for a living. So this is an opportunity for you to up your game in how you are connecting with all of this power and connecting with all this information. The fourth thing is that there's a sort of, as I mentioned before, with Pluto into Aquarius, there's a kind of reconciliation happening for us with our karma. As we advance spiritually and as time collapses more and more, we are coming together with our past, from past lives, even from our current life. We are coming into an alignment and reckoning with the karma that we have held. And I talk about this in my class all the time, is that right now, because of the acceleration that we're moving through cosmically and because of the assistance that we're receiving, we are able to clear karma that before took several lifetimes. We can clear it in an hour. So we can clear karma from a past lifetime now with an intention and in less than an hour, something that would have taken multiple lifetimes to accomplish. That's how accelerated of an opportunity this is. And the solar eclipse, so you should write down in your notebook, in your journal, write down all the things that you believe are karma that you are carrying it and give it away to this solar eclipse. Write everything down. Oh, I have a poor relationship with my uncle this, or I have a bad relationship with my mother, or I'm carrying sadness because of something that happened when I was a teenager, or I'm carrying the sadness and grief from a broken heart from 5 years ago, or I'm carrying the grief from somebody that I lost in my life, or I'm still upset because I got fired 2 years ago from my job. Whatever those things are, write them down and be willing to give them up. This solar eclipse is such a powerful event that you will be able to clear all of that stuff. This is a magnificent opportunity for us to clear some of this heavy stuff. And then again, the ability to manifest and set intentions. This is very, very powerful. Usually I go through a setting of intentions with a new moon, and I also go through a releasing of things that I'm ready to let go of in a full moon, and I do both for both. But this opportunity with the solar eclipse is like big time. This is like mega. It is amplified. Whatever you have been able to do with the full moon or the new moon, multiply by 100 times. That's what you're going to be able to do with this solar eclipse. So you could stand by and just let the solar eclipse happen, and or you could sit in a meditative pose, connect with your heart, connect with your higher self, and really get serious about releasing karma, healing karma, and letting go of the burdens and the things that have held you from being in a state of happiness and bliss. And then the last thing that from a spiritual standpoint is significant about solar eclipses is that it signifies and symbolizes cycles of renewal. We talked about the renewal already. So there's a cycle happening here, and we're always in a cycle in nature. Everything is temporary. Everything comes and it goes. And it's a reminder that if we're going through a tough time, it's not going to last forever. Everything in life, everything in nature, everything in our existence is cyclical and it's temporary. Nothing is permanent. And that's a cycle of birth and life and rebirth and death and birth. So it's a reminder of that, which helps us to understand a little bit more, or helps us to move through those periods with more ease and with more grace, because it helps us to remember that nothing is permanent and that we're not going to be in pain forever. But this is an opportunity for you to really get serious about releasing whatever pain and suffering you've got going on. Okay, so I'm going to open now to let you participate. So if you have a question or you have a comment or you would like to contribute to the conversation, maybe you've done your own little studies about the eclipse, or maybe you have a question for the masters, they're here and they can ask a lot of questions. I can't give you any scientific information because that's not in my vocabulary. Well, some things are. So, but if you have a question that you'd like to ask, we are here to provide that for you. And the thought is for you, and while you could just unmute yourself, but while you're doing that, I'm going to give you a little bit of a formula. So there is an invitation for you right now to go into places of silence, moments of silence between now and tomorrow. And the eclipse is going to be happening in the mid-afternoon, sometime around 2:30. We're going to experience it in different places depending on where we are geographically. But no matter, it's happening most of the day in terms of the energy. And as I said, I've been experiencing the energy for several days. So find moments where you can sit still. Put on some music. Use some solfeggio tones. You can just Google or use your app, your music app, and look up solfeggio tunes, because these are wonderful to put you into theta and alpha states so that your brain can relax long enough to allow you to sink into what is present for you. And then sit still, make sure you're not going to be interrupted, that you have some space to yourself. Listen to this music. It doesn't really matter what solfeggio tunes you listen to. Find one that resonates for you. Find one that you feel good with, and then listen to it. And as you're listening to it, close your eyes. Go into your heart. Really center yourself in your heart you might want to draw a violet gold light from your first chakra all the way down to the center of the earth. This is where you are able to ground yourself in a heightened state. The violet gold is a transmuting light. It's the Saint Germain frequency, and it will ground you to the center of the earth and help you connect with Gaia, and also at the same time be grounded and safe in your body, and at the same time facilitate the connection with higher dimensions. So that violet gold light, just imagine it like a beam of light moving from the tip of your spine all the way to the center of the earth. And then move into your heart and breathe. Breathe gently into your heart. Cycle breathing, conscious breathing. Connect your inhale and your exhale gently. Gently connect your inhale and your exhale. And then go into your heart and ask your higher self, ask Source Creator, ask the angels to show you what you need to know about this eclipse. Ask them to share with you and to show you what is there for you to let go, what is there for you to create, and then listen and do that for maybe like 5 or 10 minutes, and then grab a journal and continue being in that meditative state, and then start writing down the visions that you're getting and the impressions that you're receiving. And for those of you that think that it's your imagination when you start receiving these words and these messages or symbols, those are actual messages from higher dimensions and from Source Creator and from your higher self. So don't dismiss them as just being your imagination. There is nothing just about your imagination. Your imagination is the key to the kingdom. Everything that was ever created on this planet and in the universe began as an imagination. So allow your imagination to show you everything and start writing it down. And then add to that as you go throughout the day. Maybe carry a little notebook with you throughout the day. You'll have inspirations that come. So you might want to start the day with a little meditation, and then carry your little notebook, and then add to it the information that comes through for you. Because if you're listening and if you've set the intention, you will start getting information. Okay, does anybody have any questions, or do you have something that you'd like to contribute?
Hi, Lily. This is Scott Mayo here.
Hey, Scott,
Hi.
welcome.
Thank you so much, and thank you for allowing me to come in and be a part of this. It's been really eye-opening, and just listening to you speak about duality of shadow and the moon into Aquarius has really it really spoke to me over the course maybe of the past 2 years, because it's been such a tremendous amount of chaos and uncertainty and just confusion on my part and with my larger family as well. I mean, my personal life, my professional life, my family life here has taken such a hit in so many different negative ways. And it's now finally starting to come to that point where it's now transitioning to where it's the pieces are now coming together, and I'm moving them in that direction. But I haven't been able to do that until recently without filtering out the noise, filtering out the minutia, and getting to that point where I'm doing the work and not engaging in the minutia. Just not so much complaining about the minutia, but just doing the work. And within the past week or so, I mean, last week I had a really big argument with my sister. Well, we've always, brothers and sisters always have that little dynamic, but I mean, last week it was it was a tough argument. And then within the past 24 hours, I experienced a lot of past personal trauma that came to the surface, and it just really, it got the best of me in a certain situation. And I didn't come out looking good, and I come out hurting someone that I really care about. And in that moment, I think the eclipse is impacting me in such a way, and I'm looking at it as, with the moon passing over, it's going to be for that darkness to shift into the light and allow me to move forward and progress and everything that my mind and the universe has set for me. So,
Wow. Wow, that's beautiful, Scott. Oh, and we're wearing the same color.
I
I'm
know, I saw
noticing
that.
that.
Twinsies.
I want to, well, I want to acknowledge you for sharing yourself and being vulnerable. And, you know, our families are the hardest and most challenging relationships in our life. And when we view those relationships through the eyes of our soul and through the perspective of our soul, and we allow ourselves to remember that we chose these relationships because they literally trigger us. When we have challenges in our relationships, whether they're family or anyone else, it's our soul saying, hey, tapping us on the shoulder, saying, hey, pay attention. There's something for you to get out of this. There's something that you needed to be reminded of. And sometimes what we need to be reminded of is the simple thing of how to be more of a forgiving person,
Yep.
or how to have compassion for ourselves and for the other person, or how to be able to have more tolerance and more patience. And so, as a soul, when we come into our lifetime, we choose these tumultuous moments because we want to be awakened into the truth and the essence and the purity of who we are.
Right.
And so it is perfectly reflected in this solar eclipse, because there's this other aspect of the solar eclipse. There's this whole other segment of the population that is thinking that the world might end, that there's actually something major is going to happen and the world might end, or there's going to be some kind of a catastrophe. There's going to be tsunamis. There's actually, I heard things like that. Like I said, I don't go into the internet and stuff like that, but I just heard whisperings of that through conversations that I've had, that is this going to be like the world ending?
Yeah.
But that's happened sometimes when we're in an argument, or in a traumatic kind of experience with someone. It feels like the world is going to end. It feels like we're never going to get out of this. It feels like this is going to be really damaging.
Right.
And what's really happening is that we're being assisted in remembering who we are. We're being helped in stepping more and more into the light of who we are, and remembering that our truth and the light that we came here to be is always there no matter what. And it is the biggest part of us, is the truth and the light and the love.
Right.
That there's no shadow that can overcome that.
Right.
And when the shadow does come, it's just a little tiny bit, just like with the eclipse, 4 minutes. The
Yeah.
sun is going to be covered for 4 minutes.
Yeah. I've come to see that, and I've come to the realization and the belief and embracing that. I mean, even though it's so easy to get caught up in the pain and the ugliness of everything that's going wrong with you, and you're constantly being hit from every angle. But as each of those passes, I mean, less of that hurt sheds off you. And
Mhm.
this is how I'm looking at it. It sheds off you, and it allows me to free myself of past whatever was put up on me, or what I took up on myself, or whatever the environment put up on me, and let that go and do something productive and do something positive and do something impactful and helpful, and that creates harmony and peace and kindness and compassion in the universe. And letting go of what I was, it's allowing this eclipse is allowing me to leave all that in the past and then move into the light, into the future, with a much lighter sense of self, without so much on my mind about, am I doing the right thing? Just go with it and feel it. And
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful. Those are beautiful insights, Scott. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
well,
Blessings to you and your family.
thank you so much. I appreciate it. And likewise.
Mm. Mm. So Gentle Breeze had something. Hold on one second, Corey. Gentle Breeze wrote in the chat, Astrology Hub did a whole 2-week series on the two eclipses. They recommended that you do a compost board, which has all the things you want to let go of. Once done with board, you burn it before the eclipse tomorrow. Okay, that's interesting. Also, that eclipses always happen in the sign of the North and South node. North node is in Aries, solar eclipse, and South node is in Libra, the past lunar eclipse. And the nodes astrologically are here to help us go from the South node, where things we are good at, to the North node, where we need to go for growth and contribution to the planet. Perfect. Thank you for sharing that, Gentle Breeze. GB, thank you, honey. All right. I love that
You're
too. I really
welcome.
love that, the nodes, because I don't know a lot about astrology, but I do know when those north nodes and south nodes show up, and in our charts, they're showing up for what is supporting us in our path? What gifts did we bring to support us in our path? And then what do we need to overcome? What do we need to heal? What do we need? What are the challenges? Because once we heal those challenges and overcome those challenges, we shine so much brighter. Okay, go ahead, Corey. You can unmute yourself.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Um, so a couple things I wanted to share uh, about the lunar eclipse. Sorry, the solar eclipse. So I was doing a little bit of research about it. I came across some things about how ancient cultures used to interpret solar eclipses. Um, going back to to like Native Americans, and they still perform the same types of rituals having to do with solar eclipses. And back before people had the modern day understanding of astronomy like we have, um, there was a lot of myth and lore around what a solar eclipse meant. And a lot of it I was noticing was like very fear-based. For example, a lot of cultures and a lot of peoples in the past, they thought of the solar eclipse as being an event that was it was the gods being angry and blocking out the sun from us, or that there was some type of entity or some type of darkness devouring the sun, and they performed rituals, and the Native Americans would beat drums and shout and shoot spears at the sun, trying to scare away this entity. And it usually always worked out, right? Because the moon moved away, the sun came back. Um, and But there's a lot of fear based, type of mentality that a lot of cultures had, and even the Greeks, who actually the word eclipse comes from a Greek word meaning abandonment. The Greeks used to think that this was the time that, for whatever reason, that the sun was turning its back on humanity, was
Mm.
turning its back. And and the Chinese, they had their myth and their lore and legend around dragon entities and dragon spirits going taking over the sun. And but I came across one that, I forget which people they were, but I think it might have been the Australian Aboriginal people. They looked at the eclipse as like a romantic thing. They looked at, they have the sun and the moon, which they know very well, and then they were like, they're like this cosmic couple, and during an eclipse was their time to come together and be together and almost have like a like they made love. It was like this beautiful thing. And it just got me thinking that during an eclipse, as we've talked about here today a little bit, that it's a time for deep introspection. Um, there's a quietness, and there's a portal that's opened, um, for us to integrate the shadow, and for us to be with the shadow, and for us to have like a little period. It is such a rare and almost it's almost like there's a intelligent design behind the whole thing.
Mm.
The fact that we on Earth have this almost inexplicably rare and one of a kind experience to have, that the sun is the same size as the Earth, and that we get to experience an eclipse. I mean, it's something that even the astronomers, they don't really know how to really define exactly how rare it is. There's so many different moons and planets just around us, but it's such a rare thing. And so I thought about, you know, we we have the opportunity to give whatever meaning we choose for a solar eclipse. And just like we can choose the meaning we put on anything in life, um, how we can choose our past, and we can choose our circumstances exactly how they are and exactly how they're not, and use it as an opportunity for understanding yourself and for moving, expanding, moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought about, there is still a lot of superstition and fear-based lore around these kinds of things, and we're not even really sure if the circumstances here on Earth are just by coincidence. We really don't know. But I just invite everybody to take this time to really look deep within yourself, have some alone time, spend some time, shut the blinds, spend some time cleaning your internal house, and spend some time cleansing and renewing your body, mind, and spirit, because the energies are in favor of that, and they will support you with that. And all you have to do is trust and believe that they will. And So
Perfect.
that's it.
Thank you. That was awesome, Corey. Beautiful. And I love everything that you said because we are still in so many ways superstitious when we are experiencing darkness in our life or the tough times in our life. We tend to think also that God has abandoned us or that something is wrong or that we are being possessed or whatever we think of. And really, what's happening is that our soul is moving through a transformation. Our soul is moving through a cleansing. Our soul is moving through an evolutionary process. And we need to move through that process. So, yeah, it's really awesome. Thank you for sharing all of that, Corey. And I love what the Aborigines see it is it's the sun and the moon making love. I love that. That is a perfect place for us to leave this beautiful little event. The sun and moon will be making love tomorrow in the sky. And as the sun and the moon are making love tomorrow, now think about this. The sun is a representation of light and wisdom, and the moon is a representation of earth and emotion. And it's the feminine and the masculine. So there's a feminine and a masculine aspect to us. We all have a masculine and a feminine aspect to us. We have the emotions, we have the chaos, we have the creation, we have the synchronicity, we have the alignment, we have the deconstruction and the construction, So tomorrow, as you're moving through your day and you're getting present to the sun and the moon making love, think about where you are ready to be in alignment, bringing your emotions and with the light, aligning your emotions with a higher power, aligning all the things that are happening in your life that seem chaotic, that seem out of place, that seem like they're not in synchronicity. Bring them up to the light, raise them up to the light, let them come and join the higher power that is always with us because God never abandons us. We always have our higher self behind us. We always have source creator. We always have the angelic realm, these beautiful beings of light. And we have a whole cadre of galactic brothers and sisters that are rooting for humanity to step it up and to come out of the darkness so that we can join the Federation and be beings that love each other and that talk about brotherhood, not war, that talk about peace, not greed, that talk about coming together, not separation. And these are the things that we are working on as a humanity and that we as individuals need to bring more and more an individual attention to, because when we bring it, the individual attention, we expand it out to humanity and to all of the universe. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Really love all of you. Thank you. Thank you. And I will make this recording available on YouTube. So if you want to share it with people, it would be a pleasure to share it with others. And let's inspire our brothers and sisters to move into the light and to know that the shadow is always only temporary. Good night, everybody.